Well, it lives close to Wellington, under the sea. It's absorbent and yellow and, well, you get the picture. We're talking about a new underwater garden discovered in the waters around the capital. The discovery was made by research from Te Herenga Waka, Victoria University of Wellington. They're described as sponge gardens, and experts say they look very different to any others seen in Aotearoa. Well, for more on this, let's bring in Professor of Marine Biology, James Bell. Kia ora, James. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. Why was this discovery so surprising?
Well, a lot of the research into underwater reefs around New Zealand generally tends to focus on the environments either greater than 200 metres or less than about 30 metres, where people can reach by scuba diving. And our research is really focused on trying to understand and look at the reefs in this kind of gap in the depths between kind of 30 and 150 metres. And we've been working for the last 3 or 4 months or so, looking at what these environments look like in the kind of Wellington region. And I guess the thing was so surprising when we sent down our ROVs to these our remotely operated vehicles to these deep water reefs was the huge diversity of life that we found. And we found these kind of really large, extensive sponge beds. So I don't know if people know too much about sponges, but they're really important filter feeding organisms around New Zealand, and they were pretty much everywhere, all over these reefs that we found.
And the so-called sponge gardens, you said, look quite different to other ones around the country. Why was that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have ongoing research projects up in Northland in the Poor Knights Marine Reserve, and also down in Fiordland. And up in Northland, these kind of deeper water reef environments look like there are lots of organisms that look kind of like tree structures. There's a little bit of complexity there. Lots of tubular-shaped animals. Down in Fiordland, there are lots of really thin, encrusting animals kind of living all over the rocks. Whereas in Wellington, we found a really complex three-dimensional structure in many of the reefs that we found. A lot of the species look very different to the other places that we found. And we found lots of echinoderms, so sea stars and brittle stars that we hadn't seen in these other locations.
Sounds amazing. How significant is the lack of human impact on the area?
Well, it's quite one of the interesting things for us as well is that as we moved around with our remotely operated vehicle, we were unable to see. We kind of expected, because these areas are frequented quite a lot by people fishing, recreational fishers, and we expected to perhaps see some evidence of that in form of tangled fishing lines or perhaps lost anchors. And we didn't see any of those things, which was, I guess, really good considering the number of people who fish there. I suspect, one of the reasons may be, I guess, Wellington's weather may contribute to that. Because people often, while people might like to go fishing every day at some of these environments, the weather often prevents that. So perhaps the fishing pressure on these environments isn't so great. But yeah, we were really pleased to not see evidence of obvious damage in these environments.
Okay, really interesting stuff, James. Congratulations on that exciting discovery.